When discussing a roster of any kind, especially within a fighting game, I'd argue it is quite crucial to consider the potential format that game is going to be played in. That is, either a 1v1 or a 2v2, 3v3 tag battle system. Also, worth considering is the archetype each character would need to fulfill to maintain each character's identity and to follow the function of a typical fighting game character. Now, the roster of discussion is going to be none other than Naruto vs. Boruto. Of course, this is a hypothetical title for the Naruto Fighting Game, which we all hope will be led by the highly renowned fighting game developer Arc System Works. Of course, any competent developer would be great helming that project. But again, not to digress, I could also address the name by its more commonly referred pseudonym of Naruto FighterZ. But for the sake of this video and the concepts that will be explored, we will stick with Naruto vs. Boruto, as it is a very plausible title for Bandai Namco from a marketing standpoint. So what format is NVB or Naruto vs. Boruto likely to follow? Considering the success of Dragon Ball FighterZ, it would not follow a 3v3 format. Well, if it's successful, why not follow the same pattern, you're thinking? Well, the reason for that is although Naruto, canonically speaking, would be more appropriately fitted for a 3v3 format, Dragon Ball FighterZ simply did it first. So then, why oversaturate the format and compete with such a behemoth of a game in the FGC? Well, it would be in the best interest to pursue another format within the 1v1 realm, introducing fresh, competent mechanics, allowing for its own uniqueness. So with that in mind, I will be forming the roster based off of that 1v1 format, which generally tends to limit the roster between 16 to 20 characters at most. It does take more time to develop these characters, given the natural trend most fighting games have within that 1v1 format. Take, for example, Guilty Gear Strive. It's launching with 15 characters, though each character is vastly different from the next, allowing for a truly diverse and unique cast of characters. Hopefully, since Bandai will be publishing Naruto vs. Boruto, we can possibly look at a slightly larger cast consisting of maybe 20 to maybe even 24 characters, considering the assets and funds that they have available at their end. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk about what we're all here for. And this is of course discussing the base roster, no additional DLCs. This is at launch. So first up, Naruto Uzumaki in his 6th stage iteration. He's going to be a well-rounded, offensive Shoto kind of character, having a versatile kit that allows him to push a very strong, aggressive play. He's going to be extremely balanced, easy to pick up, fundamental focus to learn the mechanics of the game. It's Naruto after all. He needs to fit this criteria. He has to be good. Everyone is going to either want to main him or have a pocket Naruto. Sasuke Uchiha with his Rinnegan, or his 6th stage iteration, however you want to see it. He will also be well-rounded, except he'll be a defensive Shoto, also having a versatile kit that focuses on a defensive play on punishing opponents trying to come in or keeping them at bay. Sakura Haruno. She will be a guard point character, allowing her to absorb hits to get in. She'll have slow movement with good damage and strong pressure. Kakashi Hatake. He'll be focused on mid-range and frame traps. His lightning blade will be safe on block, and his kit could consist of feint attacks, baiting his opponents to act when they're really gonna fall into a lightning blade punish. My guy, a rushdown monster, consisting of Rekka moves, allowing for consecutive attacks, dealing great damage, and also having great mobility. Once he's in, he's giving you a hard time. Hinata Hyuga. She's going to focus on counter and defensive play. she's going to have great normals, really good counters, allowing her to lead into combo extensions. Gar of the Sand. He's going to be a slow-moving character, but thanks to his super armor, it'll allow him to close in. And since he'll focus on good set play, he'll have great knockdowns to cover his opponent's wake-up options. Killer B. Oh yeah. The Land of Lightning's all-time Jinchuriki / rapper / fire mixtape. Let's go. Anyways, he's going to be an aggressive grappler using his lariat to get in there and do some great damage. It'll definitely serve as a great mobility tool that allows him to close the distance and actually pull off one of his high damaging command grabs, Orochimaru. He's going to use his various snake techniques, especially with his snake limbs, allowing him to use great long range buttons in order to have strong space control, focusing on the zoner game, but having extremely weak defense. Itachi Uchiha. Many favorites, but he's going to be a mix-up monster in this game. He's going to have average mobility, but with his Tsukiyumi tech, he'll be able to create images to get in and mix up his opponent. His Susanoo Yatamir mirror will also reflect projectiles 50% slower, giving him enough time to match the speed of the projectile and apply some pressure. Pain, the figurehead of the Akatsuki. He'll be a very unorthodox character. His Path of Pains will allow him to establish very high block stun specials. And with his Heavenly Pull, he can drag in his opponents and put them in a rinse and repeat. If they're not patient enough, he'll show them the meaning of pain. Obito Uchiha. This is a doozy here. He's going to focus on high mobility. With his Kamui, he can teleport, closing the distance quickly. And he has the wonderful privilege of absorbing projectiles, although he will reflect them 50% weaker. That'll allow him to have a very nice kit in order to do some good damage. Madara Uchiha. He'll be extremely cooldown dependent, as his toolset will be very, very strong. He'll be mid-range, and his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan technique will allow him to reset his cooldown on whatever move he used last, or special to be exact. His Rinnegan will give him access to the almighty push reversal, but it is extremely unsafe on block. So if he whiffs, or the opponent blocks it, he's in for a world of pain. Momoshiki Otsutsuki. Wow, Boruto character, right? Finally. Anyways, he's going to have high mobility, mainly in the form of flight. His ability to fly would only be for a certain duration. He could also absorb projectiles, energy-based of course, like many others, in order to increase his flight time. He truly would be a man of the moon, dominating the aerial space. Kaguya Otsutsuki. Although she's a really bad character in terms of plot development, she'll be a really strong zoner in terms of fighting games. Her great projectiles will actually be physical and cannot be absorbed, which allows her to really keep them at bay, whatever their opponents try to do. Her ability to place obstacles and traps will definitely give everybody a great time closing in on her. But once they're in, she's pretty much done for, as she will have terrible defense. Jiraiya, the legendary Toad Sage. He's going to be strong on his heavy setup. His Toad Summon takes a little time to get going, but once it does, it'll land 2 to 3 hits, allowing him for a really good combo extension and managing his sealing jutsu, allowing him to block his opponent's cooldown temporarily. The Yellow Flash, Minato Namikaze. Strong mobility, strong mix-up. This guy's probably going to be top tier. He's going to be focusing on his Raijin seals, which allows him to set up his teleports in order for him to decide where he wants to appear and where he wants to mess you up. And if his projectiles, which are air okay, if they whiff, he can choose to change places or use his technique to be right behind you. So definitely, if you see him, run on sight. Hashirama Senju. He's going to be a strong armor type, mainly focused character. With his Sage Art, he'll be able to use stance that allows him to perform one of 3 actions: a low hit, an overhead, or an hit grab. So if you're impatient just because he looks slow, get ready. You're going to take a whole lot of damage. Boruto, Kawaki, Next Generation Naruto and Sasuke. I wasn't able to really sit down and make up a moveset or what kind of archetype they would fit. So use your imaginations, or if not, add them in the comments. Let me know what you think they'd be best suited for. If you made it this far in the video, I'd like to reiterate that this is a purely hypothetical roster. It is a smaller roster than Dragon Ball FighterZ at base launch, but that's due to it being a 1v1 system in this scenario. I'm also not considering DLCs to simplify everything, but for sure I know that that's going to be included down the road. Honestly, as a fan of Naruto, seeing that I grew up with it, and as a passionate advocate for fighting games, this game would literally be a dream come true. And not only that, I'm sure it'd be groundbreaking on the sales figures end. My endeavor is just to keep this conversation alive. Bandai may very well be aware of this concept, which is why this video helps to convey my opinions and to keep the dream alive, if the contrary is true. So guys, let's have a discussion. Let me know what you think in the comments. Everyone has basically put out their take on the roster. So who would you add or remove? And what archetype would they fulfill? I might discuss system mechanics in the future, but that's a stretch. But thanks for watching. Peace.